Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Vero and today let's sit down and plan for the month of November. I usually already have all of my spreads planned and ready to be designed, but today I thought I'd give you a bit of an insight into my thought process when designing spreads for upcoming months. Before that, let's have a quick flip through of my October spreads. If you haven't seen that plan with me, you can check it out over here in the link. I went for a nice tulip theme which was inspired by Floriade here in Canberra, which is the annual flower festival. Anyway, the first step in designing my monthly spreads is to come up with a theme. Now this is actually often the longest and most tedious part of the process because there are so many themes out there and I always have the desire to innovate rather than imitate, but sometimes you really can't escape copying someone else's theme, and in this case my own theme. For this month my thought process was a little different. I started with a color rather than a theme and then I extrapolated a theme from the colors. The color green originally stood out to me. I was contemplating brown as well, but it felt a little bit too autumn and I'm about to hit summer, so it wasn't the best idea. From there, I pivoted and went for blue and I was messing around with these blobs. Then I thought about my March theme from last year, which is a pool theme. And I recently also painted a small feature in my room that was blue and very ocean-like. So it kind of led me to think of another pool theme, just simplified. The next step in the design process is to pencil everything out. I rarely go straight in with pen these days, only because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I do like to have most of the details decided before I put pen to paper. That being said, this month I only traced out the sections where I knew the designs would go because I don't need to trace out the blobs. That part is fairly easy with pen straight away. Before penciling out designs, I have to decide whether or not I'm going to have tabs, because if I am, I'll have to draw a line on the page to make sure I don't design anything there, otherwise it hinders on the tabs. And since I have been enjoying tabs recently, I'm using them again this month, so I'll just have to leave a little bit of a margin. I will work out the spacing at the end of the video once I've got all my pages done. I don't usually do that beforehand in case I get it wrong. For the pages I use, it doesn't usually change much month on month. It's mostly the stock standard cover page, monthly log, habit tracker, master to-do list, weekly spreads, and then a review page. My cover page is actually a way for me to test my theme properly before doing it for the rest of the monthly spreads. And I know that sounds funny, but usually if I don't like the cover page, I can always glue the pages together and start again. Most of the time, even if I don't like the theme, I will probably stick with it. I think it really depends on the amount of time it took me to do the cover page. If it takes me more than 30 minutes, I'm stuck with that theme for the rest of the month. There is no way I'm going back on it. On to more penciling. I also flip back to previous months when I'm figuring out the layouts, especially when it comes to my habit tracker, because I want to see which habits I'll be tracking for the month. To do that, I'm going to write them down on a piece of paper. I did originally find 10 habits that I wanted to track, but I brought that down to 8 so that they could fit neatly into the space that I allocated for them. I'll also flip back to my grid spacing cheat sheet to figure out spacing as well. Sometimes it helps me, sometimes it doesn't. It depends, because when you add in tabs, it changes the numbers of squares on a page, which means that I can't actually use my grid spacing cheat sheet as easily, but yeah, it's a consideration. For the rest of the design, I'm just going to use a pencil to trace out the sections where I will want to have the design. And then it's time to start drawing on the blobs for the pool. I'm using 5 hues of blue for the pool this month. They're all Crayola Supertips. As you can see, Crayolas have made a total comeback in the last few months on my channel. They've just been so fun to use. They're cheap, so I'm not afraid of ruining them, and also not afraid to just go a bit crazy with them because you really can't go wrong because they always seem to bounce back. They're just a really good texture. I'm drawing mismatched blobs, starting with the second darkest blue and then going lighter as we go up the page. The blobs all have to be close to each other but not touching, and I also want them in various sizes. Once I've drawn enough of blobs, I'm going to start doing the 3D pool effect. So on this page, I'm going to use that first dark blue that I used on the bottom blobs, and then I'm going to trace out the curved lines in the lighter color blobs. The idea is that in the first instance, we are creating the lines by coloring in the blobs, so the lines being the white space around the blobs, and this time we are coloring in the lines to make the blobs appear. So I'm not sure if that makes sense. I hope it does. I think you can understand by watching the video, but if you need any additional information, just leave a comment. Starting on one side, I'll outline a new blob that overlaps on different existing blobs. I know I'm using the word blob a lot. I do apologize. And then I will smooth out the harsh joints, so curve them out essentially. This is a fun trick I learned off TikTok a few years ago. Sad to say I've been familiar with TikTok for that long, but I have, I guess. I am unsure who the original creator was, but it is a very popular style nowadays. Just a pause in the marbling of the pool to write out the title. So a fun fact about Crayola Supertips is that you can erase pencil markings after you've gone over them with Crayolas, which is really, really cool, because with watercolors, for example, once your paint goes over the pencil, there is no erasing it. Anyway, so I use the same technique on the right side of the page with colors getting lighter. The darker lines are always just the one hue darker, so it's not always the same blue, so it translates in a gradient color effect. Onto the next page. Now I will speed through the blobs because you don't need to see me do this all the time and over again because it's the same thing. All you need to know is that on this page we're going to be going from light to dark from bottom to top, so always gradient colors. I'm not fussed about keeping the blobs in a straight line on the right side. In fact, I want them to protrude onto the page a little bit, but on the left side I do leave space for the future tab that will be there, so making sure that the lines do not cross over that pencil marking. I write out the title with a pencil. This helps with spacing, line height, and positioning before writing it out with a pen. I think when I'm writing out words, that's usually when I will pencil first, unless it's the word week, simply because I've written that word so many times over the years that I really don't need to pencil it out, which you'll see later, by the way. Then using my year overview page at the beginning of the journal, I will then start my monthly log. This month, I'm using the same vertical monthly log that I used in September, the difference being that I'm making sure that the first column ends on a Saturday before starting the second column. I think it makes things more cohesive, even if the sizing is a bit off. In September, I did from the 1st of September to the 15th of September, and then I did on the second column 16th to the 30th. And unfortunately for me, it meant that the Saturday, Sunday of one of the weeks landed on the second column, which was a bit weird. So that's why I wanted to make sure I did it this way this time. To distinguish between weekends and weekdays, I'm using a light blue and a dark blue gel pen, and these are from Archer & Olive. I'm sadly no longer an ambassador for A&O. I could have reapplied, but I was feeling a little bit stressed with the amount of work I had to do with my new job, so I may apply again in the future. Hopefully they accept me back as an ambassador, because I'm still obviously a huge fan, and their products are just so fantastic, especially these gel pens. Like, I am such a big fan. I wish they had more variety of the gel pens, hopefully in the future, fingers crossed. To further differentiate weekends and weekdays, I'm highlighting the weekends as well. Now for my habit tracker. I'm excited for this one because the last time I did something similar was back in April with a leaf theme, and prior to that I don't think I'd ever really done something like this before, so it's really cool. What am I talking about, you ask? Well, keep watching to find out. For this page, I am going to start with the title this time, only because I know where the designs are and I want to make sure that they don't hit my title, because I feel like if I did the designs first and then did the title after, I may not have enough space. Starting with the lightest color and then working my way up to the darkest, I draw my blobs, and then I'm also adding in a cute little pink donut pool floaty because I wanted to spice things up a little bit. To make it more 3D, I add the shadow of the floaty in the water. I think it works pretty well. I will say though that this theme looks nicer on camera. Now for the fun part of the habit tracker, I'm going to use the blue notepad paper from the pastel notepad from Archer & Olive, and I'm going to cut out little habit tracker mini calendars using my trusty guillotine. Could I use scissors? Yes, but the guillotine is so much fun because you get straight edges. It's beautiful. I'm going to plop down the squares, which are actually rectangles that are 8x7 squares. I should have made them smaller like in my April theme, but I kept them big for decorative purposes. It doesn't really change all that much. It does mean though I do need to add in the weekday initials on the top so I don't get lost. And something I do at the end of the video, which I don't think I filmed, is to lightly color the squares that are outside of the month of November to make things easier. And then bam, she's done. Next we move to my to-do page, which is a beautiful copy and paste of September's to-do page. It's annoying because in September I didn't really use this page much, so in October I reduced its size, and of course in October I actually needed more space, so I made it bigger again for the month of November. And then watch me this month not actually use it again. It's a constant battle. This month my categories are work, VeroBujo, personal, and other. Previously I had to buy as a category, but I think I've been going a little bit crazy with spending recently and I really just need to cut back. Who do I think I am? Like a billionaire? I can't afford to be spending this much money on clothes, which is where all of my money has recently been going, by the way. But it's really not my fault because Uniqlo Canberra literally just opened and all of my clothes are from there, and I usually only get to buy when I'm in Sydney. On top of that, they had a great deal of if you spend over $100 on the opening day, you got a free goodie bag. Did I need the bag? Absolutely not. But you know, girl math? Question mark? I don't know. Don't judge me, okay? I'm reminding myself of the movie Shopaholic, except for I'm not in debt. So that means I don't have a problem, right? Kind of? Anyway, let's move on. My next page is my daily routine page and my November review. I start with the review page on the right because it never changes. Positives, negatives, movies, music, and TV. This month I've left more space for positives because last month I didn't leave enough space and had an overflow of positives, which was super nice, by the way. So October was really a really good month for me. Mostly. Obviously there were a few negatives, but there were just way more positives in October. For my daily routine, I have decided to re-include it this month because I'm still refining it. I've decided that I want to swim in the mornings again instead of the afternoons, because in the afternoons I don't always finish work at the same time. It's much better than my previous job, but still can be a little bit unpredictable. So swimming in the morning would be better, and because the days are getting longer, it is very nice to be able to enjoy the sun in the afternoon rather than swimming in an indoor pool. Very chatty video today, by the way. Also fitting about the pool because I'm changing pools to one that is closer to my place of employment, i.e. across the road. Super convenient, and it's a 50-meter pool, which is also really, really nice. So again, pool theme just coming in really nicely this month. Thinking post-filming, I think I may change that column on my to-do page that says other into a goals for November column because I have a few goals to accomplish this month, so that could be nice to include instead of like a column that's just random. Lastly, we have the weekly spreads, and I was originally going to make the Dutch doors on the top, but I did that last month, so it stands to reason that they should be on the bottom this month to even out the journal, hopefully. I start by doing the first row of blobs for the pool on the left page, and then I'm going to trace a line to copy it on the next page. I do this by using some tracing paper and then an X-Acto knife. Last month I had 3 Dutch doors and only used 2, so I'm going to reduce them to 2 this month, but I am making the doors slightly bigger than last month just in case, because you know, lessons to be learnt. The reason I traced it is because when you flip the Dutch door, I want to make sure that you're not overlapping on the pool blobs on whichever side you're on so that it all stays pretty cohesive. With the pool, I added in 2 donuts at the last minute. They were super fun, but from watching the video, their shadows could definitely be bigger, so I might change that up after this video. I outlined the border of the Dutch doors as well, and then I divide each page by 3 because I enjoyed having 3 columns in October. I think it suits my current lifestyle pretty well. Finally, we move on to the tabs. This month there are 6 pages, so the weekly spread pages only need 1 tab, even though there are 2 extra Dutch doors. Thanks to my grid spacing cheat sheet, each tab should be roughly 6.5 squares, including the bottom and top margins. Now, unfortunately, I only have 5 hues of blue, so I grab a 6th for the extra tab. I'm lucky that the Crayola Supertips that I have so many variations of blue, otherwise I would not have been able to do this. Man, what a nice theme. I think it took me approximately 2 hours to do, and unlike most days, I wasn't watching Netflix at the same time, so it really didn't take a lot of time to do. I mean, maybe 2 hours is a lot, but sometimes, I think in one of my previous videos, it took me like 2 hours just to do my cover page. So 2 hours to do the entire thing, including all the designs, is really, really good. Some last touches, I write week 44. Here's me writing the word week, so as you can see, I've kind of like perfected the way I write it. I write it the same every single time, so I don't need to be tracing it out beforehand. I also added some shadows and highlights to my pool floaties, and we are done. Finally, a flip through of all of my spreads. Please comment some fun ideas for December. I will be starting that theme sooner rather than later, only because I'll also be starting my new journal for 2024. I'm very excited to show you what that one will be. I hope to release my 2024 bullet journal plan with me at the beginning of December, so if you have any specific spread requests, also let me know. I'm very excited to start a new journal, and if you're already looking to start your 2024 bullet journal, please check out my 2023 plan with me in case you're already thinking about it. I will also be doing a whole bullet journal flip through, so stay tuned for that one as well. Have a great week ahead, and I will see you soon for December's plan with me. In the meantime, check out October's video if you want some more inspiration.